On January 12, 1958, Pinlan and Randall Fawkes entered the Emerald Beach Hotel, rested their hands on the right shoulder of Saul Campbell, chief shop steward of the Hotel Workers Union, and whispered, "Now." This password echoed throughout the length and breadth of New Providence. On Monday, January 13th, every major hotel was closed down tightly. Later, the Airline Workers Union went on strike and the PLP launched an all-out boycott of Bay Street. The workers declared, "Not a sweat," until their demands are met.
On January 19th, 1959, Doris Johnson, then a government scholarship university student, asked permission to address the House of Assembly and led the women's suffrage movement in demonstration for the right to vote. Her scholarship was withdrawn, and Stafford Sands, boss of the UBP, declared that the women would get the vote over his dead body. She eventually was able to address members of the House of Assembly in the Magistrates' Court. In the streets, women carried placards with the legend, "No nation can rise higher than the status of its womanhood." In the courthouse, Doris Johnson made an impassioned plea.
Mr. Speaker and members of the Honorable House of Assembly, today invincible womanhood, mother of man and ruler of the world, raises her noble head and approaches the courts of justice with a clarion call for equal rights for all Bahamian women.
At last, on July 31st, 1961, the governor assented to an act to enable women the right to vote. The 1960 by-election saw the PLP championing the women's right to vote. The PLP won 4 more seats in the by-elections of 1960.
In October 1962, the Progressive Liberal Party presented a new platform to the public. In a press release, PLP leader Lyndon Pinling said, "This platform forms the basis upon which the PLP will seek the mandate of the people of the Bahamas to translate the social revolution brought about by the realities of solid advancement in the fields of education, health development, and social welfare." The 1962 elections involving the new extended franchise to women were a decided victory for the United Bahamian Party. The process of constitutional reform moved forward apace, and the government was reorganized with the support of both parties, with some PLP disagreements. The old representational system was abolished. The Legislative Council became the Senate. The House of Assembly enlarged at the next election, and an appointed governor's cabinet formed. Rising racial tensions, each side being equally guilty in this regard, and concerns over electoral process that still discriminated against the black majority.
In May 1963, representatives from the UBP, PLP, Independents, and members of the Legislative Council met in London to draft a new constitution. The new constitution came into effect in January 1964, with ministerial government and the Bahamas achieving full internal self-government.
April 27th, 1965, was a day destined to go down in Bahamian history as Black Tuesday. Ever since the election of 1962, the PLP had charged that the boundaries of the constituencies, as set by the ruling white minority in the House, were unfair, designed to perpetuate their control of government, and totally unrepresentative of the people.
On the morning of Tuesday, April 27th, a crowd of PLP supporters, men and women, led by PLP Chairman Cecil Wallace Whitfield, marched from Windsor Park to Bay Street and assembled outside the House of Assembly.
Inside the House, PLP members, led by Pinling, strongly opposed the revision of the boundaries draft order. Pinling advocated a national registration of voters.
Outside, the crowd of PLP supporters kept up the cry, "Amend! Amend!" One placard bearer proclaimed, "Shame and scandal in the House," a paraphrase of a popular calypso song. On a light note, That seems to characterize even the heaviest deliberations of the Bahamian Parliament. The Speaker, R.H. Bobby Simonet, complimented Pinlin on his nice voice.
"I intend to use it outside," was Pinling's retort. Milo Butler, commenting on the warmth of the air conditioning in the second-story chamber, calmly rose and opened the two windows near the opposition side of the room and surveyed the noisy crowd in the public square below.
When the House voted, both amendments were defeated. Pinling rose from his seat. His face, a study in suppressed indignation, said, "It is obvious that the government did not intend to do anything about the amendments. We tried to lay all our cards on the table. We tried to get the Premier to indicate whether he would be prepared to amend the draft. But it appears that it is the intention of this government to push this matter through." Pinlin looked around at the tense and smiling faces of the ruling party and said, "This only shows they mean to rule with a heavy hand."
Then, raising his voice, he said, "If this is the intention of the government, I can have no part of it." As the astonished House members watched in disbelief, the forceful young Pinling walked over to the Speaker's table and lifted the 165-year-old mace, symbol of the Speaker's authority. "This is the symbol of authority," he shouted in ringing tones. "An authority on this island belongs to the people, and the people are outside."
And Pinling raised the weighty scepter and hurled it through the open second-story window, shouting, "Yes, the people are outside, and the mace belongs outside too."
The mace clattered to the pavement below. As if on cue, Milo Butler sprang up and flung out the 2-hour glasses which were used to time speakers. Too astonished to make any sort of outcry, the UBP watched in silence as Pinlin led his contingent out of the House, followed by a jubilant crowd from the public gallery, shouting, "PLP! PLP!" Rousing himself, Speaker Simonet tried to restore order, but Labour Party member Randall Fawkes reminded him, "You cannot legally continue business without the mace."
The scene shifted to the outside, where the crowd had gathered with placards. Their slogans read, "Bay Street, drunk with power, blood, sweat, and tears," and "Boycott Bay Street." The crowd greeted Pinling, and he mounted a post office van and told his supporters why he had thrown out the mace, and that the PLP would not return until it was ruled by the majority of the people. Magistrate John Bailey, a white Englishman, suddenly appeared on top of a police car in front of Queen Victoria's statue in the public square and read the riot act. From the perch on the post office van, Pinling called on his supporters to stage a sit-in down there, and then he was immediately joined by hundreds of demonstrators like Ina L. Hepburn, Effie Walks, Beryl Hannah, and the wife of Cecil Wallace Whitfield, who sat down in the middle of Bay Street. Pinling told them, "Your fight is not with the police. Obey them if you are told to move." For 20 minutes, police dragged unresisting demonstrators away, then singing, "We shall overcome," and showers of blessing as a light rain fell. Pinling led the demonstrators to the Southern Recreation Grounds. 13 demonstrators were arrested, accused of obstructing the police. There was dissension in the party over Black Tuesday's event, which led to the defection of 3 PLP members to form a splinter group, the NDP.